clutter is like that over-emotional, super needy friend or family member, whatever, that's not going anywhere. They're not in and out of your life like a acquaintance or, a person you meet for a short period of time. No, they're there. They are a permanent fixture in your life. And, you love them. You want them there, but they're a little over needy, and clutter is like that. It's like, it's not going anywhere. That chore is there to stay. When I get overwhelmed with clutter, or really, when I get overwhelmed by a project to declutter, I have to stop for a while. Used to, I would keep going. I would push through until I was finished with whatever. And yeah, I would finish that one project, but then I was sick of it all. And I didn't want to do another project. I didn't want to move on to a different place and start any other project. Now, I know I need to stop. I need to trust myself to get back. I need to trust myself to finish what I started. And the way I go about that is to rest, reflect, and reset. First thing I got to do is rest. I've got to go sit down and play a video game and get my mind off of decluttering. Go sit out in my backyard and stare out into space, or watch the birds. I've got to get my mind completely off of all the chores and the projects and the things that are waiting to be done. I have to rest before I get back. Because if I don't, that's when I give up. That's when I set it all aside and just finish the project I'm on and never get back to doing my house. Organizing it and going through stuff. Because I remember how hard it was to push all the way through to get finished with that project. But if I rest and relax and get my mind off of it all, then it doesn't weigh on me so heavily that when I get back, it's going to be another one. It's going to be another project that's that long and hard. And the next thing I have to do is I have to reflect on what it's all for. Nobody sets out in their life as, a person that's goal in life is to declutter. I mean, that's not anybody's purpose to declutter their homes. It's just the mechanism you use to get to your purpose. It's that path to reach the door, But what are you doing it for? I think everybody's reason is, slightly different, but essentially just being able to be at home with peace of mind, to have a beautiful surrounding, an environment that your whole family can sit in peace and not look at all the junk and not be tripping over laundry piles and things left on the floor or, whatever. The purpose isn't to have a magazine picture perfect home. The purpose is to have a peaceful, beautiful environment. The purpose isn't to actually declutter. That's the door to get there. So sometimes the best way to declutter is to stop. It's to give yourself a break. To get your mind off of decluttering and the projects and to get your mind on reflecting about why you're doing it in the first place. And then when I've had some rest and I've reflected on why, then I just need to reset my space. And I try to reset my space after each project. But when there's a really big project, sometimes you can't make it look perfect. You can just make it look, back to a place where you can continue the next day. But now that I've got that done, and it's been like a week since I decluttered all the pots and pans, and with that black table out in the middle of my kitchen, the card table just sitting there with things underneath it and things on top of it, and it needed to be wiped down, and we started using it as a kitchen island to put dirty dishes on, and it was just a mess. It was just a real mess, and I kept putting it off going on to the next project because this furniture, this temporary furniture was in the middle of my kitchen, and there was a bunch of stuff that didn't go anywhere. And it got me caught up in this stuck position. So, for better or worse, I needed to just put everything away, even in a place that was temporary. So that's what I did. I didn't put anything back in a place that I had completely decluttered and organized, except things that belonged there. But the places in my kitchen that haven't been touched yet, they were up for grabs. I put things away in whatever place that they would fit, and, that I knew I could find them there, I don't know if that's the best way to deal with it. Probably not. But I knew that my mind had to see a clear space in order to function properly again. So to reset my space, I found temporary homes for things that I haven't decluttered yet or looked through or organized. And then I wiped down that table and put it away. And then I'm now getting my kitchen just back in order. The dishes set for, 2 or 3 days. I kept doing a few, but not all of them. I kept, doing a dishwasher load, but not finishing, and, doing a pot or pan here that I needed to reuse, but the dishes weren't getting finished. And it was stressing me out. So that's what I'm doing today, is just completing my dishes so that I can move on to the next project. And while I'm at it, I'm, just checking a few spots in my house that have been kind of abandoned because If you're anything like me and you get in a project, you're so hyper-focused on that one thing that everything else in the house seems to fall off of a cliff. My laundry is washed and dried, but it's all in a big pile in my room, waiting to be folded and put away. And I've got, Amazon boxes that I pulled that organizer out of, and some like sparkling ice that we buy online and stuff. And there's several of those boxes. They're just sitting around. I had some school supplies sent in for my kids and just, things. And all those boxes are still there. They just got opened to take what we needed out of them, and they're just sitting on the floor. So before I move on to my next kitchen decluttering project, it's just time to reset my house. It's time to throw the water bottles that are mounting beside my seat away. And it's time to fold some towels and some of my kids' clothes so they don't have to go digging for a pair of jeans. And, breaking down some boxes and throwing them in recycling so that they're out of my house and off of my floor. I'd love to hear in the comments how you deal with in-between projects. What do you do when you're done with a project and you're just sick of it all, and you don't even want to go in your kitchen anymore because it's just a reminder of all the work you've been doing? And what do you do? What do you do to rest in between projects? Or do you not rest at all? Do you just power through? Do you take time to reflect? How do you do that? Do you journal, or do you just think about it? Or do you talk it out with a friend? And how do you reset your house? What are the things that you catch up on, or finish up right quick, or, just make sure that these things are done before moving on to the next drawer or cabinet or room? What are these things that you guys do? Well, I need to get back to what I'm doing, trying to finish this out before I move on to a different project.